everyone. Today we got to play
Revive.
So this is a post-apocalyptic game where you're trying to rebuild civilization, or at least your clan. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Revive?
I can. This is a 2022 release. It has a Board Game Geek rating of 8.2 and is currently ranked at 931, which is pretty good for a, pretty much a new release.
Mm-hmm.
This just hit the stateside anyway in the past week or two. It's a 1 to 4 player game, 90 to 120 minutes average play time. That's about right. Age is 14 and up. Probably doesn't need to be. It's not that complex. So there is a lot.
No, there's a lot of strategy. 14 and up. That's good. It's good. That's good.
Design, and I apologize in advance if I mispronounce these. It's Helge Meisner, Eilif Svensson, Anna Wormlund, Christian Amundsen Ostby. Art is by Germund Bohn, Martin Motet, and Dan Roth. Published by Aporta Games. The MSRP on this is a little pricey at $80. It's sold out almost everywhere. The only place that I found it in stock, and it's at $64, is at Cool Stuff Inc. So it's $64 at Card House, and it's sold out. $80, which is really odd for Miniature Market to sell something at MSRP, but Miniature Market's got it at $80. It's sold out. Tabletop Merchant is $62, sold out. So Cool Stuff is the place to go because it says it's in stock. I didn't check to confirm, but the site I found said it was in stock there.
If you're wanting this game, you might want to keep your eye, get ready for a look for it. All right, let's talk about quality of components. So you have these beautiful player inlaid boards.
Mm-hmm. Linen finished.
Yeah, top notch on the inlay. Great job as far as functionality goes. Then you've got your actual linen finish here as well, with your linen finish tiles.
The map of the game board.
Yes, you have uniquely shaped. I mean, sort of. You have houses. You have like schoolhouses.
The houses look like bird houses.
Yeah, and then you've got the meeples. So, sort of.
You got the meeples. You do have the meeples, but they're smaller, and then you have your priest or your tribal leader,
which is the ghost.
That looks like a ghost. Yes.
I call mine Spooky. I was like, move Spooky up. So, I don't know if these are, custom, but they're a little bit different. I will say their color palette was different, and I loved their color palette.
Well, they had blue and purple, but I don't really like the blue shade on this, but it's okay.
It's a pretty deal.
There's green and yellow. It's kind of a weird choice. Well, I know Caleb was not too happy at the fact that we didn't have red, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, and we could have lived without yellow, so maybe you just done yellow and red. But, overall, again, you got some cardboard chits, linen finish. Overall, really...
Yeah,
honestly,
cards actually have a nice linen finish, too. Yeah. They're good stock.
I'm just really impressed with the inlay boards, so I'm probably going to give this a 8.
Yeah, I think an 8's fair. I don't think there's anything that's just outstanding, except for the inlay boards, but they did a nice job, and they're not curling, which we've seen a lot of.
That's what I'm saying is we've seen a lot of curling.
Yeah, and I think they made a wise decision. They have, you're supposed to slide cards under the boards. We've seen games where they try to make it where you can insert them into the boards, and that's always a problem because then you don't have sleeving. It usually doesn't allow sleeving, and then if they do curl, then you have problems with the cardboard and sticking, and you can't get the cards in. This one, you slide them under the board, and I think that it solves the problem. Just leave it simple.
Yeah, no, it works out beautifully done. All right, so now let's move on to the theme. Now, art style-wise, color palette-wise, really well. However, they do have a campaign mode in this. You read it.
Yeah.
I got lost.
Well, the thing is
I didn't really understand.
They call it a campaign mode, but I think it's more of a slow release of additional add-in content to make the game more rich. I honestly think they could have just put it right in. There's no game, like if you play the campaign, you don't have like bonuses for winning the previous game. You don't have choices
It
to
doesn't
make.
feel like a campaign.
It's depending on your political leanings, it may put you off because it's definitely got a bias to it. So it depends on your perspective, but honestly, I don't think it adds anything to the game. I would just rather it just unlock everything, or at least have optional rules where you can add it in at the beginning.
Yeah. And the way they word things didn't make a lot of sense when you were reading it, but it can be a translation error because could be.
Well, I didn't see any typos or translation issues. I think it's just the names of the different tribes are kind of strange as far as China, and they put the names into the text, so it throws you off when you're reading.
I don't know. I got lost.
But yeah, it didn't. The campaign is not rich. It's definitely not rich.
Yeah. So theme-wise scoring, 7.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at. I mean, I do like the art. I love the little creatures on the cards.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I wish there was a little more variety because you see a lot of repeats depending on the different tribes. But I think it's all done well. And on the boards, everything looks nice on the board, and it's what you would expect to see in a post-apocalyptic society where you're dealing with an ice age that came in and you're trying to thaw out and rebuild society. So.
Yeah. All right, so now let's move on to the actual rule book.
So the rule book is 24 pages. It has a cover that's similar to the front of the box. The book is actually set up pretty well as far as reading. It's got a nice section for showing all the different components. There wasn't really any confusion on the setup. There's a lot of setup to this because there's just a lot of bits, and they're all individually bagged. There's no storage mechanism for them in the box, so just getting them all sorted out and put in place took a while. Well, they did nicely separate everything. Like the cards were very easy to identify which ones were what from the backs of them. As far as the rules, they got it nicely segmented and colored. I like the fact that they have the solo game kind of mixed in with the rest of the game, so it tells you kind of like the difference of rules for the solo game from everything else. And there's really, for player count changes, it's very simple because the rules are exactly the same, except for you just add on a number of in-game tokens or basically they call major artifacts.
Yeah.
To the pool for the number of players, and you can even play, it says, as a variant, one additional player count to add more tokens to make it a longer game. So, we played it the standard way, and then that second game we played, we added in some of those tokens to make it longer because you guys really needed the extra time to beat me.
Oh, whatever.
And Caleb only pulled it off by 2 points still in the second game. So, all in all, I think the rulebook's done pretty nicely. I think I'm going to go ahead and probably give this rulebook a 8.5. I think it's done well.
Okay. All right. So now let's move on to the actual gameplay. So the gameplay begins where you have your initial 6 cards. You're going to shuffle those. You're going to put 3 in your chamber of secrets.
What's the
hibernation chamber?
Yeah, hibernation chamber. Yes.
And then you're going to have the other 3 cards. Those 3 cards
will be face up over on underneath your tribe board. So you have a tribe board and your board where is basically your tracks on it.
So, and then each turn you get 2 actions. So these 2 actions consist of playing a card, triggering your switch here, or discovery.
Exploration, building, or basically population.
Yeah. And that's basically spending of resources. So basically you can play a card or spend your resources to do the things. So we'll go over. So at the beginning of the game, obviously, I probably need some resources.
Well, you do get to start with at least 1 resource depending on your turnover.
Yeah, but that's not enough.
First player only gets 1, and then I like how they did it where the tracks, you go up 1 on each track from left to right based upon your player count.
Yeah. All right. So for this one, for example, so you'll notice that in the game that the card serves a couple of different functions. You have the top and then you have the bottom. So depending on where you play it on your player board, that triggers it. So I'm wanting resources. So the top of this would be resources. So I'm going to slide it into here. Now I get 2 food for doing that because that's the icons. But I also have these tiles that you can get over the course of the game. And this one has a yellow, so yellow card matches this, so I get another food. All right, so that is playing a card.
Now, at the beginning of the game, you won't have any of those, but you can acquire them through cards or other actions that will give you those. And it's one of the ways you can enhance your board and build your engine the way you like it.
Yeah.
I like that.
So he mentioned playing a card. So now I'm going to play a card for the bottom. So in this case, I get to play my special player ability, or I can actually take one of those tokens. So I'm actually going to take one of those tokens. Okay.
And there's always 5 of them.
Yeah, there's a pool of the 5. Why don't you give me that yellow and gray? Yeah, there you go. All right, now I'm setting up my board, like you said, kind of engine. So most of these either have yellow or gray. So I know I'm typically going to play a yellow or gray card there to basically make it more effective. Now I did my 2 actions. Now it's Randy's turn.
So so I have the same choices. I've got 6 cards, but 3 of them are buried. And then
You have a lot of food. You should send some of that food.
You think so?
Yeah, I think exploring is great.
All right, so I am going to choose, since I don't ever get a choice in this game, I'm going to I will use my food to go, in the case of food, it would be exploring.
Right here, you have 3 food.
So I have 3 food, and there's a tile that's got 3 food costs. Again, all these tiles would be face down, except for the central ones where there's the starters are already face up.
Actually, I lied. You need the 2.
I don't need the 2.
Space-wise, you're 1 away.
Oh, okay. So I have to spend, for every space between me and the tile I'm flipping, I get to flip it. It's my turn. Every space that it's away from you, you count only the ones between, not the start or the destination. So it's 1 space away. So I have to pay a food to reach it. So I pay a food, and then the tile has how much the cost is, and it's got 2 food as the cost. So I'm going to pay 3 food. I'm going to... Well, this is only 1 away from me, too. I could have done that one.
Oh, I didn't... Yeah, so but then it would have been 4 food.
Yeah, I had 4 food.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So I get 1 victory point for flipping this, for first off, and the score tracks on the board. And then I get to play this. Now, all right, so when I flip it, I can orient it either direction I would choose, as long as it fits that same direction. I can't turn it, catty corner or anything. It has to go the same way, orientation-wise. But I get to flip it. If I had a building adjacent, I would immediately get whatever was touching my building. And most of those are track advancements, so you're going to go up on the tracks. Now, there are lakes that have other types of bonuses in them, and if you happen to be adjacent to those, you would get those as well. The only difference is that because there's basically houses and hotels, if you will, from Monopoly, if you play a house, you only get to use the building once. If you have a hotel or one of the advanced buildings, you get the ability that's adjacent to it twice. Except for lakes. Lakes you only get 1 time. Also, if you happen to be on the perimeter of the board next to one of the crystals, you get 1 of that. You don't get double that. You just get 1 time that. The crystals are actually a wild resource, basically. Some things cost crystals, but typically you can use them to be any of the 3 resources, which are gears, books, and food. So I flipped the tile. I got the 1 victory point. And as an bonus for my exploration, I can add a card to my playable area. So I can take any one of the 5 cards that are exposed, and I can put it into my active cards. It doesn't go to my resting cards. Immediately goes into my active pool. So I have now 4 cards in my active pool to play.
So, all right, so you got 1 more action.
Yep, so I got 2 actions. So for the second action, I'm now low on resources, so I need resources, so I guess I'm going to play a card. Oh, and I got one of these bonuses. And one of the nice things that happened, I'll put it down here. One of the nice things that happened is when she took her tile, I got a double book come up. So this one is usually, most of them have 2 color choices. This one only has green, so you're more limited, but you get double the benefit. So I'm going to play that down here. So now I had a green and gray book. So now if I go there with a green card, I will get 3 bonus books.
Yep. Okay. All right. So that's his turn. I'm going to take mine. So luckily for me, he did flip over this tile, and so now I'm going to move in.
Oh, that's why you forced me to take that tile, because it was beneficial for you. I see.
Pretty much. All right, so I only have small houses left. So you do have small and large houses. The small cost 3, the large cost 5. Now, but my player has a special ability for each one that it's next to a mountain. It's 1 less. So I'm actually only going to have to spend 1. Lucky me. But I get to take this, and then I am going to place it here. Now, when I do that, everything that it currently surrounds, and in the future, so if another tile gets flipped over, I get to go up certain tracks. So I get to go up 2 mountain tracks. 1, 2, oh yeah, I reached my end. And then 1 green track. So, and then that's...
Well, along the way, you're going to pass by these token spots, and you happen to reach the end of your track, which unlocks one of your tokens.
Right.
So there's a track along the side of your board that increments an in-game bonus for your score, and also has little abilities that unlock along the way, like you can get some of the scoring tokens, those major artifacts, or you can get some lightning, which will help you trigger some engine building that you have during the game, the machines that you put into play on things you've unlocked already, and those things then you can trigger with the lightning once per round, basically. And when I say round, it lasts until you decide to hibernate. So it's you can, everybody's on their own cycle of whenever they retire.
Okay. And then the other thing, you do get these tokens here when you trigger your in-game or your special ability, and that's that star icon that you can take on the cards. So just be aware of that. And then that's and then the book. So now I have a second action. I'm going to end up I'm going to end up placing one of my population because I want this here so I can make some money. So I'm going to spend 3. It's right adjacent, so I don't have to worry about the cost, and I'm going to place it on there. So at the end of the game, I would then
get a victory point
for each green on the green track. So like, for example, I'm currently at 11. That's great for me.
The population track over here, also you start at the bottom, and you have to unlock the bottom one, and it unlocks 3 different branches that you can go up, but you always have to work from the bottom up. So the cost goes up in books as you go up the tracks, and also again you have to pay a food for every space away from your closest connected building or person that you have out there. So basically, these people just give you additional annex points that you can connect to spread across the board. They also unlock an ability on your board that is now available. Sometimes it's an ongoing effect. Sometimes it unlocks another one of these machines that you can activate with your lightning. So, that's the gist of population. Did we leave any of the other actions out?
Nope,
we got building, population. Okay. Exploration. Yeah. So the other thing you can do, instead of taking your turn, since I'm low on these resources, and let's say I had played my cards, I can hibernate. So on my turn, I could hibernate. And if I do that, basically it's like a reset of your round. This is the cleanup phase. So you take all the cards that you have setting in your hibernation chamber, and you add them to any cards you have not played yet from the previous round, if you will. And then all the cards that are in play go into the hibernation chamber. So basically everything that's actively in one of your slots goes away. And you have 2 slots at the beginning at the top and 2 at the bottom, and there's one that can be unlocked as one of your population attributes that you can unlock on the board. So you do that, you get all your electricity, your energy back, and put it in the middle, and it unlocks all your machines again for use for the next round. And then you get to move up the hibernation track, and each step of the way there's a bonus you get for that space. Now, one of the steps as you go up the track, the 4th spot, actually will shorten the game by removing one of the artifacts from the game. You don't get it, it just goes away. So, once you get to that point, we never actually reached it. We played it, when we played both of our games.
We did
We never actually hit that spot.
We were right there.
Yeah, we were right below it. But it seems like that's basically going to sudden death mode almost at that point, because it accelerates the game towards the end. And the game definitely starts out slow and builds because you just don't have anything, your engine isn't built yet. But once you get that engine built, you can trigger a whole lot of stuff at once. Matter of fact, there's cards that you can stack, and that's really cool. They have cards where they give you an ability, but they have also let you play another card that goes underneath it. And if it's the same card, it's the same color, you trigger everything in that slot again, including that card. So all the upgrades you've done to that slot and the card and the current card that you're playing.
Yeah, and some cards will let you play other cards and for your single action. So that can be, that could be a strategy. I think overall, there's a lot to play with this game. I think there's a lot of strategy involved. I think there's a lot of things. I do think there's one path you cannot ignore.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that track building is part of this game. I mean,
but to do the track building, you almost have to place buildings.
Yes.
So you can't ignore placing buildings. You can't ignore expanding out on the map. And I think the first time around, me and Andrew did not know this. We lost handily.
And to be fair, I spelled out all the rules. I didn't know the strategy any better than you did.
No. I'm not blaming you.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming you except for winning. It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
But for you to go play it, don't ignore the buildings.
Yeah, make sure. Yeah, and I mean to be fair, they go hand in hand with exploration. You don't necessarily have to be the one doing the exploration.
Yeah, I know you're really good at that.
Yeah, but you have to basically vulture when somebody else does an exploration now. So you almost want, when you're doing exploration, to do it on your first action and have the backup where you can build a building if you choose to do so.
Well, that's what I ended up having to do. There was one time I kind of not wasted, but kind of wasted an action. So that next round I can make sure I had what I needed to explore and build.
Yeah. I would say that I think if anything, the bigger issue is that the population feels weaker. All the other things are pretty powerful, and I don't think they're unbalanced. But the population, until you get to the edges of the board, it doesn't really add a whole lot because you can extend your distance by buildings just the same as you can with the population, but you get a lot more perks for doing the buildings unless you have just a really cool ability on your track. And we haven't really played it enough to feel like there's an unbalanced situation with the abilities.
Well, and the one thing I will say with the players that we didn't get to, or the population, is go up one track and then go to the next, because you do get these special bonuses, or you get the in-game. And that's one thing we didn't kind of mention is everyone gets a card and you have a kind of directive of what will give you bonus points. And everyone gets ×1, but per each of these different colored stones, you'll end up getting, a ×2, a ×3.
Those are the major artifacts that trigger the end of the game once they're all gone.
Yeah. So that to be said, there might be something there, but we haven't found it yet. So not to say that there isn't.
No.
We just haven't figured that one out yet. Knowing that buildings are important.
Yes.
We were a lot more evenly matched. So I think that was good.
Yeah, and I think that first of all, this wasn't even on my radar when I didn't even know this game was coming. Shortly before it came out, I saw it when I was out on Card House's website. I went and looked at up on Board Game Geek, and I said, okay, it's got multiple use cards, one of my favorite things. Engine building, really one of our favorite things. And the way it looked, I like the sophistication of the tracks on the board, and because the tracks are not independent. So as you move up one track, you can't just focus on one track.
No.
Because as you move up the track, some of the spots you pass will be like on 3 on green. But if you get there, you have to get a 7 on the yellow track in order to unlock it as well. So you can't just focus on green and think, okay, unlock everything. No, you got to have both tracks that are united. And then the same for the yellow and gray, or the gray and green. Each one there's a dependency in between them. So you have to kind of balance going up all the tracks. And I really like that. I think that was a unique aspect of this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that was a very unique and is a good little mechanism that they had there. I will say this game for me was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of nuance. There was a lot of beauty to the gameplay in and of itself.
Well, it's rare when we finish a game and immediately everybody says, we want to play it again right now.
Well, I mean, I was mad that you beat me that bad.
Well, there's that, but both you and Caleb had the same reaction.
Well, it was more of the, okay, we got to sit there and figure it out. Like, we want to figure this. And the thing is we haven't figured it out yet, but we do know it's good.
Yeah.
Well,
the fact is, when we sat down, just Caleb brought up, I want to play Distilled, and we'd already had this set up to learn and play today. And he immediately wanted to come in and play Distilled. And when we finished, he's like, I want to play this again instead of Distilled. Even though he hadn't played it, we've told him all kinds of good things about Distilled. He immediately wanted to play this again. So he enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. We've had a few rave reviews from him lately as far as games. So that, it's rare to see that from Caleb, a level of excitement. We didn't even know the other one until later when he was talking to your dad and talking about Rolling Heights and telling how much he loved that game. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely one that I think all three of us unanimously enjoyed. There may be different degrees of enjoyment on it, and that's what we've score here. As far as my opinion of it, I mean, it ticks all the boxes of things I like in a game. Except the only things I don't like are, like I said, I don't like the campaign. I don't think that was necessary. I think they could have just had it optional add-ons because the way they've introduced it, I think it's kind of strange. It doesn't add enough story elements to make it a full story. So I think they were just better off of just leaving it in the rules as add-ons. And then I think that there could potentially be some balance issues between the different player abilities. We don't know yet. It's been too early to tell, but we do know that the character I played the first time dominated badly in this game, and that may have just been because it's different strategies that people were trying, but it definitely dominated.
Well, but then like mine seemed overpowered, but I was last place in this one. I mean, not as bad as the first time around. So I think the decision is still out.
Yeah.
Like people need a lot more playthroughs.
Yeah.
To determine if things are.
And there's definitely a luck element to the game. Absolutely. As far as the tiles that come up and the cards. The first time we played the game, we had the 5 tiles that came up. One of the double tiles came up on the opening draw, and I got it right away.
And then Andrew got one.
Right. And then the next time my turn came around, you turned another one up for me. So I ended up getting 2 doubles, and the doubles can, while they're limited in color, if you can pair them right, they're much better than the individuals. Because the way I positioned everything, I tried to get all my yellows in one spot, all my greens in another, even if they were multicolored. I had it basically where if I had a backup, if I didn't have a yellow, I would get a slight bonus if I played a different color. But, as far as I always tried to play a yellow card in that spot or a gray card in this other spot. And, depending on, the abilities of your card, your character, some of them felt like they weren't as useful in the game. Like the one I played first had a lot of gears, which are what you need to build buildings. So it seemed very powerful.
Everything. Yeah.
And I don't think there's going to be a scenario where buildings are not extremely useful in this game.
No.
So I would say they're definitely, while there's different strategies, there's certainly some of the strategies that are going to definitely be needed in order to win much more than others. That said, we all had a lot of fun playing this game. And, I don't think they're as unbalanced as what we've seen in Tapestry and some of the other games where it kind of broke the game for us. Tapestry, they've done some things to fix it. We still love that game too. But yeah, I think this one, I'm probably going to give a 8.5 is where I'm at. I think it's a really well-designed game. I love the engine building. I love the card dynamics and the fact that you can play in multiple ways. I love how you get the cards. I think that's really clever. And I love the tracks. I really enjoyed it. And I think if they'd made a few different decisions around those things that I think were weaker, I think it would have been a 9 or a 10 on this. I mean, it's
I absolutely agree with you. I think that's spot on. I think right now for me, it's an 8.5 until we figure out is there balancing issues, and that it would be nice to see if the population was a little more. Maybe we're doing it wrong, right? But I think you're right that this had the potential to become a 9 and a 10 if there wasn't those concerns there. So I think absolutely, I agree 100% with your assessment of it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast tonight. Hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.